Facebook's online.
Oh, we're going to try this again. See if we can get that sound going good. Are we connected on everything now?
Yes.
All right. This is Andrea Yount. We are preparing for Therapy Thursday, our weekly broadcast on mental health topics. Therapy Thursday is brought to you by Affinity Counseling Services and A Lovely Pause. This is a test.
Affinity Counseling Services is located in Piggott, Arkansas, and Kennett, Missouri. We currently have 4 therapists in our office and are taking new clients. To visit our to join our sign-up sheet, visit counselingwithaffinity.com. And to find out more, you can call me, Kindred, at 870-324-5122 or 573-840-0440. Thank you.
A Lovely Pause is a local nonprofit created to provide community education, awareness, coping skills, and support for those with PTSD and other trauma-related disorders. May is Mental Health and Trauma Awareness Month. This month, we are featuring our free printables section on our website. We have lots of free resources to help you spot cycles, reduce anxiety, dig deeper, and much more. Check out our freebie section at the bottom of our website. There is something for everyone. Sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date on our fundraising progress, current and upcoming events, and exclusive freebies and more at A Lovely Pause, PAUSE.com.
A Lovely Pause is having their next event on June 5th at 3 p.m. at Forest Roots Bar, Grill, and Bottle Shop in Holcomb, Missouri. We are going to be having a poker tournament. You can find out more on our website, A Lovely Pause, PAUSE.com. Underneath our fundraising events. We have a goal of raising $5,000 by this fall. If you want to help A Lovely Pause stop the cycle of trauma, you can go to our website and click the donate button, and you can sign up for a one-time donation or become a monthly donator on our website, alovelypause.com/donate.
Oh, cool. Am I just supposed to squat the whole time?
Oh, yeah, you don't have a chair.
Power set.
May is Mental Health Awareness and Trauma Awareness Month. In May, we wear green for mental health and trauma awareness. If you wear green, take a picture and tag A Lovely Pause on our website, and you may be featured or on our socials at Instagram or Facebook at A Lovely Pause, and you may be featured on our website. Hashtag and May we wear green.
Are we ready?
Ready?
Therapy Thursday normalizes discussing mental health topics in a safe, supportive environment, because not being normal is normal.
I'm proud of it. Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Thursday, our weekly installment here at Affinity Counseling Services, where we talk about different mental health topics from a personal and professional perspective. My name is Matthew Yount, lead therapist and vice president here at Affinity Counseling Services.
I'm
ahead.
Andrea Yount. I'm the chair of A Lovely Pause, and I'm the vice president of Affinity Counseling.
And I am Stacy Diggs. I am Chief Marketing Director at Affinity Counseling Services and a Vice Chair on A Lovely Pause.
And behind the camera, as always,
Comments and concerns.
Are we
I'm
just
Kindred,
throwing random
taking-
words at Kindred now?
taking your questions,
Oh, yeah.
comments, and concerns. I'm also the office manager at at Affinity Counseling, and the secretary of the board for A Lovely Pause.
Yeah, see, that always gets so confusing. I'm like, what am I now?
Well, I can't help you don't know what you are. I'm very well aware of what I am. Maybe
Well, I know. I'm just
maybe
gonna
we
be
need to
like,
write down your title for you
I'm
and
Andrea.
put it somewhere.
I mean,
Yeah, but we got to know what like the people need to know, like what makes you a person of some type of authority that we would listen to.
but those things don't make me an authority on what I'm saying.
Yes,
My
they
life
do.
does.
Well, it's a combination of both.
It's not. That's not what makes me.
Okay, but
I
you,
get what you're saying, though.
But
I
you,
get it.
but you understand. People tend to respect people that have some type of title associated with the things that they have learned.
Yeah.
Your doctor doesn't just walk in and say, "Hi, I'm Rick."
I mean, he might. I would be like, hi, Rick.
Yeah, I would be okay. The fact that
my
you're Dr.
doctor
Rick
does
just feels a
that.
little bit better.
I mean, they say I'm Dr. Such and Such, but
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. They don't just introduce themselves as by their first name. It's
I
like,
mean, maybe they do. Oh, that was loud. I'm sorry.
no,
about
you're
that.
fine. Anyway, so
All right,
what are we
anyways.
talking about? Why mental health matters? Is that our
Yes,
topic for
why
today?
mental health matters.
Okay, so it's continuing along with our more general discussion for the month of just about mental health in general.
Yes.
Do we have anything that we need to talk about first before we get into that? Because I think you guys have a tournament coming up, a
Yeah,
fundraiser.
I talked about that while we were doing our sound test.
Yeah, but that doesn't go on the radio.
Oh, okay. Well, we are having we're having a poker tournament on June 5th at Forest Roots Bar, Grill, and Bottle Shop in Hocka, Missouri. We're going to have bingo and a silent auction. And you can check out the information on that on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook event, but we also have more information and where you can sign up to register on our website. If you click on the events tab on our website, lovelypaws.com.
Very good. Thank you. And any other things that we need to mention before we get started today?
Well, I think that all of our efforts deserve a round of applause. Okay.
If you were going to pull that out, you could have picked a better time. I mean,
I know.
you forced that.
I did. I felt like I was looking at it too much because like it kept like silencing and like going to sleep. I was like, this is hard to like try to hit this button. So I just wanted to get it out of the way. I was waiting.
She was
to-
done with it. She's
Yeah.
over it already.
Yeah. So I can focus now. I'm ready.
My inclination there was to just stare at you and let you sit with that while everyone looked at you. But no, fine. You got it out of your way. Good. Hopefully it never happens
It's out of
again.
my system.
Good. Appreciate it.
Momentarily.
You're fired. All right.
you're only fired from a therapy Thursday and your laugh track or clap track.
Whatever it is. All right, let's get started with we're
Trapped?
talking about mental health.
Why mental health matters.
Yes.
It's pretty important because there's a huge stigma because a lot of people think mental health does not matter.
Well, okay, here's the biggest stigma that I see is that mental health is supposed to somehow be able to be controlled completely by your willpower. You're just supposed to be able to go, well, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And then you're not supposed to do that anymore.
Yep.
And everybody, especially people who fall more on the it's not really I'm not thinking like conservative here in the sense of political. I mean more of like the conservative mindset of I need everything to be very understandable, simplistic,
Yes.
Very easy
and
to
white.
be very black and white. It's that supreme conservative mindset of there's either right or wrong. There's either good or bad. There's you're either out of control or you're perfectly in control. But nobody is perfectly in
Right.
control, even people with those mindset. But there is this stigma of anybody that comes in to see a therapist. They almost always feel shame about the fact that they're there. And part of it seems to be they think they should have this under control on their own. They should just be able to say, well, I don't want to have PTSD anymore. I don't want to have these triggers. I don't want to be an addict. So I should just be able to go stop it and it'll just quit. I mean, we saw that, but we've seen that perpetrated. We saw that perpetrated in the 80s. You know, it was the whole Just Say No campaign that came out in the 80s. It's like, oh, well, drug addiction's easy to stop. All you got to do is say no. And it'll magically just go away. And that was the mindset that we had. And then the backside of that was, if you don't say no, you go to jail. And so it's either, oh, you're a terrible human being who has no impulse control whatsoever and no willpower, so you deserve to be put in prison, is the mindset that was put out there for a long time. And before that, it was asylums. So it was, oh, you have a problem? Well, let's just warehouse you with all different
lobotomize
kinds
you.
of people. Yeah,
We're really
Just
good at dealing with
I'll
mental
stick to the
health
forehead.
issues in this country, huh?
we've been great at it so far. It was either like, we're going to cut your brain apart and lobotomize you. Oh, well, that seems a little barbaric. Let's just throw you in prison. But is that better? And then we did that.
It is better.
Yes, it's better than cutting your brain apart. Yes, that is true.
I mean, it steps in the better direction.
Yeah, you know what they did but you know what happened when they got rid of the insane asylums? They just let them out in the street. It was just, there you go. Go take care of yourself. I mean, it's not like you haven't been in an insane asylum this whole time, but hey,
Cue that
have
image
fun.
of Daniel Radcliffe with the guns and the robe.
Right.
What movie is this a reference to, please?
Do you know the name of it?
I am,
Somebody tell us the name in the comments.
Yeah, I'm not 100%, but Daniel Radcliffe is wonderful. And
That was a throwback to a conversation we were having before this, and we're not even going to get into brooding Batman.
No.
So, because his
mental
mental
health-
health matters too,
His mental health matters too.
but he just has a very dark view of the world.
All I'm gonna say is Robert Pattinson is the closest Batman to ever get to Lego Batman broodiness.
right.
He's Lego
On
Batman. Lego Batman level.
Oh well,
Okay, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
We're reeling in.
We digress.
Yes,
A lot.
mental health. It matters in movies too, apparently, because all of those people have mental health issues as well. But it creates interesting characters. Here's one of the things about like the stigma that comes along with mental health is that because of the idea that your willpower is supposed to be able to change everything, you are not supposed to seek help because of that. If you seek help, you have been considered to be weak. Now, that has changed a lot over the last decade. In fact, the idea of coming to a therapist doesn't have near the stigma. I have very few people that will refuse to park in front of the building or that want to leave out the back because they don't want anybody seeing them. The vast majority just walk in and walk out. Nobody cares if they're seen up here. And it's actually becoming in bigger cities more of like an in vogue thing is like to have a therapist.
Yeah.
In the dating culture, I mean, a lot of people are like, like, have you worked on your issues? Have you gone to therapy? And that's relevant information because, like, like
How aware of yourself are you?
exactly,
Yeah.
like, how much do you consider that a priority?
Because people are learning that, if you haven't worked on that, then you're going to spill that onto them. So it's not that people aren't willing to help other people. They just want to know where you're at on that and if they're willing to put that work in,
Yes, exactly.
which is fine.
yes,
I mean,
it's good information to
boundaries.
have. Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, it has become way more of an open thing to be able to
Yeah.
receive therapy, and that's good. But see, that's only true for people that have moderate problems. We still stigmatize the crap out of people that have really severe mental health issues going on.
That's true.
I mean, we see a lot of people, like, schizophrenia is still not something that's all that accepted. Most people are scared to death of it. I've worked with a lot of schizophrenics. I have very rarely ever been in a bad position with any of them. And I don't think I was ever in a bad position with any of them. The few I'm thinking of, they were acting out in the moment, but they weren't really acting out toward me. They were acting out to things around them, not toward me. I was never in a bad circumstance with them. So our more severe end of things, or severe addiction, we still have a lot of stigma related to that. We still don't do a very good job of treating it. And jail is one of the worst things that you can do for somebody
we
who
treat
has
them-
mental health issues.
we treat them all as separate issues: trauma, mental health, illness, or mental illness, trauma, and addiction. And it's all the same issue. It all, comes down to your mental health, whether it's from trauma or mental illness, how you're taking care of your mental health, wherever that's coming from. And so, addiction, they say, trauma is the gateway drug. Well, yes, trauma, but if you have mental illness is genetic a lot of the times. You grow up in that environment. You grow up and not with that stigma and not taking care of it. You do turn to self-medication, whether it's food or alcohol or whatever it is, other drugs. And so you develop, these dependencies on these things, and you just always live in that. It always goes back to, how are you taking care of your mental health? What are you doing to self-medicate? Because that doesn't just mean addiction, doesn't just mean drugs at all, because there are so many people that are addicted to food and other things like that they don't even recognize is causing these same, maybe not as drastically because it's not messing with their mental health, their mental state in such a drastic way. But I'll tell you, if I eat bread or a lot of sugar, it messes with my state of mind. Like, you know what I mean? And so it just always goes back to, are you taking care of your mental
Yeah,
mental
right.
health?
Because you got to take care of your physical health to take care of your mental health. That's part of it too. So, I mean, let's just look even further at like how that stigma tends to play out, and especially when you see it get all the way to the political level, because it's oftentimes used as a political weapon to get laws passed or to get certain things accomplished for reasons that really have no desire to actually help the people that are mentally ill. It's just to try to score points on one side or the other. But the idea usually seems to come down to, all right, somebody has a problem, let's say trauma, and because that's very rampant, way more than anyone of you that don't work in trauma fields actually realizes. You know, this is a small town, and I have no shortage of clients with PTSD from a lot of different circumstances. So it's way more prevalent than people recognize.
It's not just military related.
Absolutely not.
It's so there is so much of it that it's almost something I think that should be addressed like in school. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
Like you
for
should
sure.
just have a class that's like, this is group therapy hour.
Yeah, sure.
I'm telling you, if I'm just gonna put I plug this girl all the time, Nadine Burke Harris or Nadine Harris Burke. I don't know which one goes first. Sorry about that, but she is a pediatrician, and she has a TED Talk on TED. And if you ever get the chance to listen to that, it is so good, and it talks about how PTSD is such a big deal and how childhood trauma needs to be caught way like in childhood so that
Right. Well, I
keeps
mean-
you from having all of these issues, physical issues.
I think back in high school, we had health class, but that was all about your physical health. If you wanted to take like the psychology class, that was an elective. You didn't have to learn about your brain.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you just had to go do like square dancing and pickleball. That's important.
That's relevant.
Yeah. So it's the idea that first, there's way more trauma than people recognize. Then the next thing that happens is those people in traumatic situations, they usually also live in traumatic situations. They don't just have a single episodic traumatic event with a supportive family. That happens, but those people usually get better most of the time because of their environment. But a lot of people don't have the type of environment they need, so they get into really bad behavior patterns. They don't choose these behavior patterns. These are behavior patterns that are typically either presented to them, or the behavior pattern that they do end up involved in is a means of escape from the constant experience of trauma. And they don't even understand why they're having the experiences that they are most of the time. So they have dissociation, hypervigilance, poor sleep. They don't sleep well at all, so that doesn't help. They can't learn very well because it affects your short-term memory, and they get into situations that also fit the behavior patterns and thought patterns that they believe about themselves. So these ideas that come from the traumas, like I'm a terrible person, no one will ever love me, whatever it is, that puts them in with bad situations, and now bad behavior patterns start.
And it's not even that these are fully conscious thoughts all the time,
No.
right? Like a lot of times, I would say probably most of the time, there's this book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and there's this analogy that he gives in it about when we're young, we have this concrete that's like the foundation of our self-beliefs, and these things that get put into it, like, like I'm unlovable, or like people are going to always leave me, or whatever the case may be, gets imprinted there, and it ends up setting like this algorithm in our brain that is just running on an autopilot. Like you're not aware that like these things that you're doing are stemming from this belief system that you've got ingrained in you until you start doing the work. And a lot of people don't ever touch doing the work.
Nope.
And there's a lot of times, like when I'm doing that type of work, when I'll have this thought and it's, for me, if I'm having a thought that's bothering me that bad, I'll try to process it. I've learned how to do that, to recognize those things in myself. That's what therapy teaches you. And so when I have that thought and I'm trying to break it down, there's a lot of times I'll break it down, or he'll help me process it, or my therapist will help me process it, or a friend or something, and I'll be like, oh, well, that doesn't make any logical sense at all. Why do I even feel that way? Like, I don't feel that way, so why do I believe this? Like, I don't really think that, so why am I acting on this belief that I don't know, that I don't believe? And so...
Yeah, but people don't even know that.
Right, exactly.
Did you have something?
I did. I lost
Oh, okay.
short-term memory.
Well, that's totally fine. So what then happens is they get it. So then next they get into these behavior patterns, and these behavior patterns are unhealthy. And so now that they get involved in these behavior patterns, they are doing a lot of these things, like you talked about, unconsciously. When you say that people don't necessarily know what they believe about themselves, that's absolutely true. Because I can ask people, what are some of the belief systems you have about yourself? And I intentionally ask it that way to see how they respond, because most of the time they're like, I don't know.
Right.
What do you mean by that? And I go, okay, well, here, let me get a list of belief systems and let me start reading off of it, and let's see if any of these fit you. And so I'll start reading off some of the negative belief systems that are typical, and they're like, yep, got that one. Oh, I definitely believe that. So they can't just say, this is what I think about myself. But once you bring it to light, now they can recognize, like, oh, yeah, I guess I do believe that about myself. Huh, I didn't really realize I do that. So we are oftentimes making decisions with parts of our brain that we're not even aware that we're making decisions with. And so we tend to think things like, oh, all you have to do is just logically think about a circumstance, and then that's how you'll act. And that's the farthest from the truth. You see people that believe, that have these false beliefs. I've seen it in martial arts. I've seen it so many times where, you know, people will walk into like the martial arts school, and in their mentality, they're like, I don't feel pain. I know I can fight. I've never been in a fight? No, but I know I can. And then the moment they get hit, it's, and they freak out.
Right.
Because in their head, they've been watching action movies, and they thought, I can do that. I know I can do that. And then
That's Bruce Willis this.
until
I don't want to get hit in the face.
I don't either. That's why I train, because I don't have to take a hit to the face. But what happens is, under that stress, in that moment, that's where their unconscious, the things that they're not aware of, kick in. And so now you get to see like the unconscious part of the person. Do they keep trying to fight you? Do they run away? Do they wear out really fast? Do they just freeze right there in front of you? And then afterwards, some of them, you see them just totally like mind blank afterwards, like, what just happened? They don't understand why they did what they did. But that's how people function all the time, especially under stress. They're just doing stuff that has been programmed in them. They don't know why.
Stick to the script.
Yes. Yeah, well, and so some people, though, they have a script in their head. They just can't. They think that all you got to do is do this and you'll live by that script. And that's not the case at all. People who have been through trauma or have severe mental illness from other things, they're living off momentum. And that momentum comes from previous experiences that they've had. And so they keep ending up in the same circumstances. And you can't, just like when you're scared to death, you can't logically tell yourself, stop being scared. And your brain goes, oh, okay. You know, your heart's pounding. You're still making these quick, impulsive decisions because that part of your brain is more powerful than the thinking part of your brain.
Your cortisol is always high.
I
So you're
go
always
into
in
survival mode when I'm scared, and I get very mentally logical. So I try to be anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm trying. I'm just like, I have to be completely calm. Right
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
But that goes into something about trauma. People that have been through trauma actually do better in scary situations. It's everyday life where they struggle.
Yeah.
Like, so the situations where people are normally...
I would rather be in a scary situation and be
mean-
like, I know where this anxiety's from, and then get it taken care of, than being sitting there like, I have anxiety for no reason and I can't deal with it.
Yes. Well, because you're right. There you have a thing to tie it to. Like under stressful situations, you can be like, okay, let's handle this. Because you live in stress all the time. But now it's just like, oh, there's a reason
There's
to
a
have
reason
it.
to have stress.
I'm
I
a
have somewhere to
professional
focus it.
stressor.
Yes. And like, okay, so, and if I'm having everyday stress, I'll obsess about it. I'll be like, why am I feeling this way right now? There's no reason for me to be feeling this way right now. Why is, I will
then
obsess
that-
over it. I'll be like, I need
And then
to
you have a
figure it out.
reason for your stress, and you're like, it's because I'm obsessing
Yes,
over it.
yes.
And
it's
then you're
a
like, how do I
cycle.
stop? And then
Yeah.
you get in like a cycle.
Yes.
Yeah, so you and that's what it's like when you're living with these mental illnesses, you have to be able to be aware of these patterns. And most of the time, we're not even aware of what we're actually thinking or how we're going to respond under stress. So being aware of the pattern itself when you don't even really understand why you're doing what you're doing is really hard. So you get into therapy helps you understand the pattern.
Yeah.
And then when you start to understand the pattern, then you can start to do some things like I do with a lot of my clients, learning how to control your body under stress, learning how to recognize when you see yourself setting yourself up for a bad circumstance, what to do when you see that happening. You can start to give them tools to help get out of it. But it's never a straight line of success.
It's never a straight line of success, no matter how long you've been doing it either, because there will be things that you feel like, oh, I've been doing that perfectly for years now. It'll never bother me again. And then boom, one day it's bothering you again.
Yep.
And so that's why mental health matters. You have to be constantly, aware of yourself and try, and at least not like every minute you have to be analyzing your thoughts. Don't become obsessive about your thoughts, because that's a disorder. Like you have to be aware of yourself. You have to understand your reactions. And if you have a reaction you don't understand, you have to be willing to look at that and try to understand why you're having it.
Yeah, sure.
Leveling up.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
I just wanted to address a comment.
Sure.
I will not say their name, but they said that they had felt like they lost their identity when they lost their job and became disabled, and that you had helped them with therapy.
Oh, cool.
And that they'd shout it from the rooftops that therapy is the only way.
Well, thank you. Well, it's certainly a good way. I'll give it that. And I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I always like getting feedback from people. It is helpful when you have somebody that can objectively look from an outward expression of, hey, this is where I see things might be going wrong, and I can challenge you to make these things better. Because if all you're doing is approaching people with judgment, all you're doing is making them feel worse about themselves, and you're triggering them to go right back into the things that they normally do when they're under stress. People's black and white judgment does no good to fix an actual problem. All that is people being self-righteous who want to believe, or narcissistic, who want to believe that their belief system should be seen as the correct one, and if you don't follow it, something's wrong with you. And that's its own form of mental illness. And if you need therapy for that, I'd be happy to help you with that too, because you are not living your best life from that perspective. You're actually scared to death most of the time, and you're certainly not helping your fellow man around you by just telling them to suck it up and be tough, because you're not either. You're just pretending and scared to death. So I would be happy to work with anybody in that circumstance too. Unfortunately, they just don't often show up in therapy unless court ordered. So that's usually when I get that mentality. So I think that's a good breakdown of why mental health, it matters because it's your everyday experience.
Well,
it affects your everyday experience.
And not just yours, the people around you. And that's one thing I want to bring up, is because it being Trauma Awareness Month as well, and, Lovely Paws and, my story and all that stuff, I just wanted to bring up, like I said earlier, Nadine Burke Harris, whichever one it is, TED Talk. She talks about how trauma affects children. And if you are not, as an adult, are not dealing with your mental health, you're going to project all of that hurt and anger and pain, those emotions, those reactions, those things that you have. You're going to project that onto your kids. You're going to pass all that down. You're going to pass those cycles down. It's called generational trauma. And you're just going to keep having those trauma cycles, and your kids will pass it on to their kids, and their kids will pass it down to their kids, and it just keeps happening. And somebody has to break that cycle. And that's why mental health matters, because you can totally change your generation, the future generations of your family,
Yep.
if you start being better right now. And it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
And it not only does it help their mental health, not only does it stop the cycle of trauma and abuse and mental illness in families and generations, but it also makes the world a little bit better.
Well, yeah, it
place.
can make your
You know,
your immediate world a little
yeah,
bit
it
better
makes
place,
your
and that helps
environment
overall.
better, and it gives back. And
Yeah, so if you're needing therapy services, maybe you've been stuck in difficult circumstances or not sure why you're doing what you're doing, but you don't need to keep on the same path that you're on. It's not working. We're here to help. You can reach out to us at Affinity Counseling Services on Facebook. That's AFFINITY. You can contact us by phone in the Piggott office at 870-324-5122. Or you can reach us in Kennett, Missouri at 573-840-0440 or at counselingwithaffinity.com.
you bet. You can join our next event, our poker tournament on June 5th at 3 p.m. We will also be having some bingo and silent auction going on. You can find out more about that on A Lovely Pause, and you can donate and help us towards our goal of raising $5,000 this fall. And don't remember to tag at A Lovely Pause on Instagram and Facebook in your pictures of green this month, because in May we wear green for mental health.
I think you should remember that. Don't not remember.
Yeah, what Kindred said.
Remember not to remember.
Remember to remember.
That would be a good tagline for you.
What?
Remember not to remember. Because
Thank you.
well, you and I both know you have short-term memory issues. That's not a shame thing.
No, it's a trauma thing.
It is.
And
right.
we embrace it here, so come on down and we'll help you embrace it too.
I'll actually help you learn tools around it. That's what we do.
Yeah, we learn tools around it, and we encourage each other's weird noises.
Me.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. And we'll talk.
move on out of here.
Well, actually, next week we won't be here, will we?
No, we will be skipping next week, and we will be doing a double header the next week.
Yep. So
So-
on the 26th, we'll be doing
Yes,
a doubleheader. All
we're
right.
doing on the 26th. We will be doing mental health supports as well as lifestyle of a healthy mind.
All right. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks then. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.